Hey guys, MMA Savant here. I'm going to do a UFC 242 main card prediction video. UFC 242 is being headlined by Khabib Nurmagomedov is going to fight Dustin Poirier for the title. And like most of my videos, I'm going to start from the bottom of the main card and work up. So, from the bottom of the main card, we have Mairbek Taisumov is going to take on Carlos Diego Ferreira. Mairbek Taisumov is 26-5. He's very well rounded. He's one of the Dagestan, Russian, technically Asia subcontinent, but Eastern Europe. He's one of the new wave of grapplers in the last few years to come out of that region of the world. But the guy he's fighting, to me, is so good and so special. Carlos Diego Ferreira, for those of you who don't know, is a 4th degree on most websites and a 5th degree black belt on other websites in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. His only losses in MMA are to Dustin Poirier, who's contending for the title, and to Beneil Dariush, who just had a lot more cage experience at that point, and a loss is a loss, whatever. To tell you how good Carlos Diego Ferreira is in grappling competitions, the only losses I could find on his record, and I've seen the videos, is Andre Galvao, which, if you understand who that is, that's a pretty, that's to be expected, because Andre Galvao is one of the best of all time, and much, much bigger. And a loss to Kron Gracie. Kron Gracie, for those of you who don't know, is Hickson's son, and he's also Hoxton's brother, but, Hoxton passed away way back in the day. He's who Nick and Nate rely on to sharpen their jiu-jitsu. And you guys know how much I respect Nick and Nate's jiu-jitsu. So that says a lot. And he had got a sweep and got points against Kron before Kron caught him in a strangle lock. Other than Andre and Kron, I can't find any losses on his record, including going 5-0 in a no-gi grappling match with Gary Tonin. Gary Tonin is legit. He's one of the Down to Here Death Squad guys. He's been kind of dormant last maybe year or so, but he's still a big name. Gary Tonin couldn't score a single point on CDF, and CDF scored 5 points on Gary Tonin. No gi, which was Gary Tonin's specialty, whereas CDF prefers to be in the gi. Anyway, moving on. Okay, sorry. With that being said, I expect a very grappling heavy affair. Oh, I was going to say that Carlos Diego Ferreira is the poor man's Damian Maia. I'm going to amend that just a little bit. I'm going to say he's the poor man's Damian Maia, but he's also a chimera or an amalgam of Damian and Hani Yahya. So if you understand your grappling and your positional awareness and your hips and everything and being heavy, that says a lot. So with that much confidence, I'm going to say that Carlos Diego Ferreira gets this one done by decision, possibly even submission. Moving up, we have Curtis Blades. The next fight is a heavyweight affair. Curtis Blades is going to be first of all, he's 11-2, okay, and his only 2 losses are to Ngannou. A guy could do a lot worse. He's going to be taking on Shamil Abdurakhimov, who's 20-4. Shamil Abdurakhimov has some big wins. Andrei Arlovsky, and he's even got a win over Walt Harris, who I believe is, because of the quickness of his hands and the power he possesses, the dark horse in the UFC heavyweight division. But I don't think he had found his groove just quite when he fought Abdurakhimov. Curtis Blades' last fight is a win, a very dominant win over Justin Willis. He got him out of the UFC. So, quick little side note here. Me and Justin Willis worked a security gig in San Jose years ago. He is the only fighter I've ever met that I didn't like. Now, keep in mind, at this point, he hadn't even had his first professional fight yet. But, and this is an actual statement that Justin Willis said to me. We're both working security. We're both doing MMA. We're both. He's fighting, and I'm only training, whatever. We're both out of AKA. We're both. I was at the Sunnyvale Satellite Studio or School, where he was at the main headquarters. Anyway, he literally said to me that people should be grateful that they meet me, and they should consider it special. I guess there's people that walk around this earth that feel like that's a normal thing to say to somebody. People should be grateful when they meet me. He hadn't even had his first fight yet, which he lost, by the way. So, Justin Willis, man, he's really, thank you, Curtis Blades, for kicking his ass and maybe humbling him a little bit. Maybe not, though. People don't, whatever. Anyway, back to the thing here. Look for the wrestling heavy American to not be stupid and just shoot a double, have good hips. Look for Abdurakhimov to get finished in the first round by Curtis Blades. And if we lived in a just world, Curtis Blades would be contending for the title very shortly. Next, we have Islam Makhachev. It's going to be against Davi Hamosh. Now, typically I favor jiu-jitsu over sambo, unless it's like Khabib or somebody like that, or Fedor or somebody. But typically, Islam Makhachev is 17-1. He's got a lot of cage time. He's a very, highly decorated grappler in his own right. And I just think that there should be there's a missing link between Davi Hamosh's last fight, which was Austin Hubbard. I wish there was somebody between Austin Hubbard and Islam Makhachev. I don't think he's ready for this much. Now, will he get out grappled? Probably not. But will he be out tacticianed? Yes. I just think the cage time, the wrestling mixed with the sambo, with very little confidence, I'm going to say Islam Makhachev gets it done by decision over Davi Hamosh. But that one is literally a coin toss to me. Okay, moving on. We have a rematch between Edson Barboza, fan favorite. Everybody loves Edson Barboza, human highlight reel. And is going to be taking on Paul Felder again. If you remember back a few years ago, Paul Felder and him fought, and Edson Barboza won by decision. I should have confirmed that, but I'm pretty sure. Now here's where it gets kind of weird. Paul Felder is coming off a win over James Vick out of Texas. He's 6'3", Golden Glove boxing champion or whatever. So he's coming off a win over James Vick. Whereas Barboza is coming off a loss to Justin Gaethje, and he's also 1-3 in his last 4. But the 3 he lost to are very good, strong wrestlers. But the one guy he beat and Dan Hooker has the closest style to Paul Felder. I don't think the pressure is on Edson Barboza for this one. I feel like it's a winnable fight again. He doesn't really have to worry about the grappling of Paul Felder, Donald Cerrone protege, and current analyst, very good at it, mad. I'm going to say Edson Barboza gets this done by TKO or perhaps decision. I just don't see the grappling being an issue, so it's strictly a kickboxing, it's strictly a striking match, as far as I'm concerned, which is what the world wants, and I'm okay with that. Yeah, without spending too much time on this fight, I like Edson Barboza in this one. These are not betting picks, so these are just, I'm a dorky guy who likes MMA, and I'm just telling you what I think. And I have a really stupid name, the MMA Savant. So these are not betting picks, these are just the way I feel. Moving on to the main event. September 7th in Abu Dhabi, we are going to see Khabib Nurmagomedov at 27-0, current long-running champion, fresh off a win over Conor McGregor. Not only was it a win in the grappling thing, but he also got a knockdown on Conor McGregor. So that's amazing in its own right. Is going to be taking on Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, man, is coming off his second win over Max Holloway, who I didn't make a video for, but I had Max Holloway to beat Dustin Poirier on sheer volume alone. He has just been looking like a new man as of late. But he's literally fighting the most dominant fighter in MMA right now. There's only a few guys to ever have a record like that. Fedor did it. Fought 7 former UFC world champions, beat them all. The one lost to TK, which was a weird thing, doesn't count. He was like undefeated for a decade against all kinds of good guys. He was like 20-something-0, I don't know, without a loss until he ran into Fabricio Verdum. And then he's had a middling career after that. But that's Fedor. And maybe Renan Barão. But guys with 27-0 records don't come along very often. And the ones that do... See, everybody here is special. If 100 people go out and they try to be MMA fighters, 3 of them are going to make it to the main card of the UFC. Now, maybe 10 make it to the UFC. And maybe 2 becomes like legit names. But to be an undefeated fighter, the champion of the world, you have to be truly special. And I'm not even that big of a Khabib fan, but I recognize there are levels in this world, and Khabib truly is a special athlete. Not in a corny Ronda Rousey, Joe Rogan kind of way. I'm not... That was embarrassing. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about... Well, it stands on its own merits. A knockdown of Conor McGregor, beating him, taking Ally Quinta, who's a good fighter in his own right, beating him. Michael Johnson, who's got a win over Dustin Poirier, Khabib's opponent. Out grappling RDA. That was amazing. That was truly amazing. Anyway, I just don't see how Dustin Poirier gets this thing done. I mean, I'd love for Khabib to slip on a banana peel and Dustin Poirier to shake up the whole world. I think that'd be amazing. But if I'm being honest, I just don't see how Poirier gets it done. I'm a bigger fan of Poirier than I am Khabib, but we got to look at things, you know, look at everything factually. Now, so anecdotally, I want to say something that Chael said. I believe it was Chael on one of his shows on YouTube there. The card is at sea level. It's in Abu Dhabi or whatever. So elevation and altitude won't be an issue. But even if it were, Chael said that he saw Khabib do shark bait drills for like 3 hours one day against very strong, high-level grapplers. So for those of you who don't know what that is, and those of you who have done it before, you know how impressive this is. A shark bait drill is this. You got a competition coming up, you got a fight coming up, you want to test your stamina. One guy goes on the mat. He's grappling a guy. The second he gets a tap, or the second the guy can no longer go on, the guy who got tapped rolls off the mat, and without any spacing or resetting or anything, a new guy just jumps on his back, just attacks. Those are called shark bait drills. And because people have different styles, it opens things up to like, some guys are strong, some guys are slick, some guys are mean, so some guys are crafty. It gives you different looks. And it's very beneficial. It's a boon to your performance, basically. Khabib did that for like 3 hours straight. The only person that Chael said he's ever heard of doing that, other than Khabib, is Tony Ferguson. With the grappling, with the strength, with the experience, with the confidence of beating a Conor McGregor, with the, I just don't see how Dustin Poirier gets this one done. It won't be easy, I don't think, but look for Dustin Poirier to get taken down and pounded out or submitted in the second round. If I'm picking a dark horse in the division, factoring in cage time, factoring in been on the spotlight before, 5-round affairs, the wrestling to equal out the anti-wrestling, to avoid the takedown, and the leg kicks and the striking and the devil may care, fuck it, let's just do it. I think Justin Gaethje is the guy to beat Khabib. Or, I'm not going to say beat Khabib, but give him the hardest fight. But we're not talking about that, though. We're talking about Dustin Poirier taking on Khabib Nurmagomedov. It sounds like I'm blowing off Dustin. I'm really not. I just can't fabricate a scenario where Dustin Poirier wins other than it won't be decision. He won't out-wrestle him. Maybe Khabib gets complacent or cocky and just puts his neck out there and Dustin catches him up in some kind of a choke. I mean, it could happen. Dustin Poirier is a high caliber fighter. And maybe Dustin Poirier's fist finds that chin. Or knee does. But beyond that happening, Khabib. 9 out of 10 times. No. 19 out of 20 times. That's it, guys. So for the bottom up, we have Mairbek Taisimov. We have CDF to beat Taisimov. CDF, I forgot to mention, is coming off a win over Rustam Khabilov, which is a big name. Anyway, Blades to beat Abdurakhimov. Makhachev to, outwork and play Davi Hamosh. Edson Barboza to rebeat Paul Felder, and Khabib to beat Dustin Poirier. Those are my picks, guys. And enjoy the fights. MMA Savant, and I'm out.